Story time of how I caught my grandma and my dad sleeping together. Yes, you heard me right, my dad was sleeping with my grandma. Sadly, I had to be the one to find this out and walk in on them doing the dirty, and it was probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever had. So basically, my dad told my mom that he had to start working late to get extra money, because at the time we weren't doing so good money-wise. So basically, a couple months go by, and my mom said he started acting really weird, and then asked me to keep an eye on him and see if he's like doing anything strange. So you know me, the best daughter in the world, kept an eye on him, and I didn't find much out. Until one day, after I came home from school, I got locked out of my house because I didn't have my key, and both of my parents were so called at work. So I told my mom, and she works an hour away, so she couldn't come get me. And so I just had a friend drop me off at my grandma's house. So I tried calling my grandma, but she didn't answer, so I decided I was just gonna go anyways. I go through the back door like I always do, and I wanted to sneak up on her and give her a hug. So I try to be as quiet as I can, and I walk in the room and see my grandma and my dad butt naked on the bed. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that my dad was sleeping with my grandma. So continuing on with the story, I walk in on my dad and my grandma butt naked sleeping with each other. And by sleeping, you guys know what I mean. Oh, did I forget to mention that that's also my dad's mom? So I caught my dad sleeping with his mom. Mind you, my grandma's like 55 and my dad is 32. I mean, I guess it's not that big of an age gap. So back to the story, my first reaction was to take out my phone and start filming it. And my dad and grandma did not like that. But I just kept filming. My exact words were, I need receipts. By this time, they're both under the blanket trying to get dressed. Without me seeing their wing-wings and hoo-has and titty-tas. At this moment, I was like, wait, I could be having the dream life right now. I could blackmail these two into anything at this moment. Then I was like, nah, I love my mom a little more than that. So I started thinking for a second about what I wanted to do. Then I book it out the house and send the videos to my mom. They did get a divorce. My dad lives with my grandma, and I do occasionally see him, but I live with my mom. Story time of how I walked in on my boyfriend trying to sleep with my dog. Yes, you did hear me right. My boyfriend tried to sleep with my dog. Okay, so at the time, me and this boy were dating for about 2 years. We usually see each other almost every single day, but because of COVID, at the time, me and my boyfriend couldn't see each other for about 4 weeks. So basically, me and him were trying to surprise each other at the same time. So to his knowledge, I was staying at my grandparents' house and I was supposed to come back Friday. So he decided that he was going to surprise me, and my mom let him stay the night at my house Thursday night so he could surprise me when I got home Friday. So I heard about him trying to surprise me, so I decided I was going to come home Thursday night instead so I could surprise him. So come Thursday night, I come home, I turn off my Life 360 so he doesn't know where I'm at. I get home, I ask my mom where he's at. She said he was in my room. Mind you, it's about midnight at the time because I couldn't get home till then. I walk into my room and I kid you not, he was trying to sleep with the dog. Pants off, everything. And the dog is a boy. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I caught my boyfriend trying to sleep with my dog. So after I walk in the room and see his pants down trying to bang the dog, I don't know how, but for like 3 minutes he does not notice that I'm standing there staring at him, watching him trying to bang my dog. But then finally he looks over and me and him are just making direct eye contact, like staring at each other like, This man had the audacity to say, I was practicing for when you get home. But your wee-wee inside my dog, yeah, no. At that moment, I was literally speechless. I did not know what to say. This man didn't even bother picking up his pants. He just asked me if I wanted to join him. And of course I said yes. So I went to join him and the dog. No, I'm literally just kidding. My exact words were, pick up your dang pants and go bang your own dog, you weirdo. He looked at me and said, will do. Like, what? I ended up going to tell my mom what just happened because I was so shocked, and she said, oh, I seen him doing that, I just didn't want to say anything. Like, what? Story time of how my uncle got cremated alive. So my uncle was a funeral home director in New York, and due to the extreme amount of increased deaths due to the pandemic, he ended up having to work at least 12 to 16 hours a day. So of course, almost every single day he was extremely exhausted. So my uncle went into the crematorial, laid down on one of the stretchers, and took a nap. And while my uncle was sleeping, a coworker mistook him for a 52-year-old man who died due to respiratory issues. The coworker then rolled the stretcher right into the crematory. Before his coworker could notice the mistake, my uncle was already exposed to temperatures ranging between 14 to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Then within seconds, he was reduced to ashes. There is currently an open investigation around his death. So there you have it, kids. If you work in a funeral home, never take a nap in the crematory on one of the stretchers. Here's a story time of how me and my sisters almost got kidnapped. So my mom and her boyfriend were just going to go out and have a night to themselves, and I was home watching my 2 little sisters. At the time, I was 13, my 2 little sisters were 9 and 6. So around 6 p.m., my mom and her boyfriend leave. Me and my sisters just sit down and watch a movie, and then I get up to make them dinner. I get paranoid really easily, and while I was making them dinner, I look out the kitchen window, and I thought I seen somebody in the backyard. I text my mom and she gets on the cameras that are outside and she said nobody was out there. I continue making them dinner, we sit down and eat, and then we start watching another movie. Then we start hearing knocking. It wasn't coming from any of the doors, it was coming from the side of the house. I didn't want to bother my mom on her one night out, so I just took the kids and we went upstairs and watched a movie in my room. My 6-year-old sister at the time went to the bathroom and she came back in literal tears. She was literally crying so hard until I finally got her to stop and tell me what was wrong. She said as she was walking back from the bathroom, she seen somebody downstairs. I quietly lock my door and I put my sisters in the closet and I call my mom right away. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how me and my sisters almost got kidnapped. I called my mom and then she looked on the cameras downstairs and somebody was in the house. She never told me what the person was doing. I guess she just didn't want me worrying, but she called 911 right away. While my 2 little sisters were in the closet, my 6-year-old sister would not stop crying and I'm pretty sure the person downstairs heard her. At this time, my mom and her boyfriend were already on the way and so were the police. I heard him coming up the steps, so I quietly opened the closet door and promised my sisters that they would stay quiet and be calm no matter what. I didn't know what he was here for, so I hid in the side of the bed in front of the closet so that he would get to me before he got to the girls. I heard him just rummaging through stuff and stuff breaking. Then a couple minutes later, I hear the police sirens. Right as I hear the police sirens, I hear a bedroom window smash. While trying to stay as calm as I can, 3 policemen bust down the door. They grab me and my sisters and take us outside. About 5 minutes after they take us outside and put us in the back of their car, my mom and her boyfriend shows up. About 20 minutes later after he was caught, they did notify us that he was wanted for murder of 2 younger girls and 1 adult male. About $10,000 of our stuff was either missing or broke. Then about a month later when we were capable to, we did move. Nothing has happened since. Story time. Okay, so there was this one teacher in middle school that nobody ever really liked. She always woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So this one girl that she picked on in particularly, literally her phone would be in her back pocket and she'd send it to the office because she could see it. And it was out when it was just in her back pocket. Or like one day the teacher told her that she could put her head down because she didn't feel good. And then she called on her and then like her head was down and she sent her to the office saying that she wasn't listening and being disrespectful when literally she didn't even do anything wrong. So she decided that when the teacher was not looking, she put a whole bunch of this super glue, I think. I don't really remember what glue it was, all over the teacher's chair. So when she sat down, it literally stuck to her pants. The back of her pants ripped off and I think she had to go to the hospital or ER because of the chemical reaction her skin had with the glue. And literally nobody ever snitched on her because nobody really liked that teacher and knew how evil that teacher was. Nobody snitched on her, so the teacher ended up not working there anymore and actually quit because of that. And I'd do it again. Story time of how we have the absolute worst luck with babysitters. In the course of 8 months, we went through about 5 babysitters until we finally just gave up. The first babysitter we're going to start with is, let's just call her Mary. So Mary was this young girl, and she seemed to love kids. We have many cameras in the house, and my mom overheard her telling her friend on the phone one day that the cameras in the house don't work. Mary, 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 how would you know that? So one day my stepdad gets on the camera, and she is waxing her hoo-ha in our kitchen. Yes, waxing her hoo-ha in our kitchen. Then doesn't wash her hands and has the baby smell her hands. Then a couple days later, my mom was on the camera. She takes out the vape and takes a video of the baby trying to hit the vape. Then a couple hours later, I'm scrolling through Instagram, and on her Instagram story, I see this baby swag at 6 months old with her trying to get the baby to hit the vape. And look, the babysitters just get worse from here on out. Like for part 2 of our worst experiences with babysitters.